been a little more glued to the news lately than I like to be. Are you too? And you know, I do that thing where I pull out my phone to do something else, and then before I know it, I'm doom scrolling, I think we call it. Fear and anger and heartbreak and apathy and cynicism and numbness, and I don't want to deal with it. We need, I think, a bigger story to live in than the headlines, the daily headlines. And that's what this whole arc of worship has been about, this bigger story that we live in together as a religious tradition. And that's also what this question of missiology asks of us. What is the story we are living in as individuals who have to keep living our little lives in relation to the great events of the world? How do we live them in a way that brings justice, that brings healing and purpose to the world? Some religious traditions look out their window and say, our mission, our missiology, it's to convert all of those misguided people. Get them in here in this house where we've got a good structure for them that'll keep them safe. And some religious traditions look out the window and say, it's too scary out there. Keep it all away. Remove ourselves from the world and stay safe inside these walls. And our religious tradition asks something else of us. It asks, like Alice Walker famously said, to make activism the rent that you pay for living on this planet. Our tradition asks us to be engaged with the world, to fall in love with it even though it breaks our hearts, and because it breaks our hearts, to act to make a difference. I remember when I was first indoctrinated into our missiology, because we do try and convert people sometimes. I'll get to that. But I was first embodying our missiology when I was in 3rd or 4th grade, and you might have seen this story. It was on my website when I was introducing myself to you. I wanted to change the culture in my school about people saying, "That's so gay." Having 2 moms and feeling, you know, I was targeted by this every time someone said it, even if they didn't know. I felt like collapsing in on myself, and I wanted to do something about it because I had a community and a religious tradition that said, you can do something about the pain of the world. And if things aren't right, if things aren't fair, it's your job to do something about it. And so I made a dictionary. I made a 2-page dictionary because as a good Unitarian, I thought if I just educated them all and explained what these words meant, it would solve the problem. So it was, you know, first page was gay, which is, you know, to be happy, or a man who loves another man. The second page, lesbian, somebody from the Isle of Lesbos, or a woman who loves a woman. That was it. It was, you know, 3rd grade level. I was going to bring it around to every room in the school and educate the way out of it. Things only have gotten more complicated from there, of course. And I don't think we're going to educate our way out of the conflict in Israel and Palestine. Although that must be part of it. What I notice is that sometimes I have had just as proselytizing an approach to my work in social justice as any evangelical trying to bring somebody into their house of worship. If only I can convince you I'm right. If only I can get you to see it. And I don't think I'm going to be the only one alone here, right? I think as Unitarian Universalists, we fall into this trap. So I've been thinking about how do we hold conviction, which we need to do our justice work, conviction that our values are right and true. firm ground that we stand on, alongside humility? How do we hold conviction that sees more than a complete moral relativism alongside a humility that lets us build relationship across difference? It's no small task, but when I think of the biggest heroes of social justice work in my world, King or Gandhi or Day, Parks, John Lewis, they held together conviction and humility. We've been having a national conversation, Unitarian Universalists, about the rise of authoritarianism and fascism in our country and in the world, and where do those impulses come from, and how do we operate to overcome them. Cecilia Kingman, my colleague, gave the Berry Street lecture on this topic that last June at our General Assembly. If you haven't heard it, it's available online, it's wonderful. But one of the ideas Cecilia talks about is this, that we must, in order to confront fascism, make space in our lives so that our work for justice is grounded in our own spiritual practices that connect us to moral authority, that connect us to that place inside where conviction and humility can live together. And that from that, we can reach across and build relationships across difference, relationships of intimacy and trust across difference, because that's what fascism abhors. That's what keeps us able to resist those forces that would continue to oppress. Yes, the world can be overwhelming with its news. I find solace in that message from the Talmud. You do not have to complete the work. Do not be overwhelmed by the grief of the world. You do not have to complete the work. But neither are you free to abandon it. Amen. And may it be so.